Well, Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri joins me now. Senator, thank you very much indeed for joining me. So I'm thinking, I'm not an American, but I'm sympathetic to Americans right now, because it seems that every single aspect of Americans' lives is being traded around big tech, around government, around the FBI. There's nothing left. There's nowhere safe. What is going on?
Well, what's going on is that big business and these big corporations aren't content just to try to run our government. Now they want to run our lives. And what they're doing is they're taking our personal information. They're stealing it from us effectively. They're not paying us. They're not getting our consent. And the only way to stop this is to pass laws that protect people's personal information and say, if you're going to take it from me, you got to notify me, number one, get my consent, number two, and pay me, number three.
I mean, look, you've been talking about this for quite a long time, which I guess prompts the question, why has more not been done yet to prohibit this kind of activity?
Well, the reason for that is these are the most powerful special interests in this government, Pierce. I can tell you, big tech and these big corporations that benefit from big tech, they spend the money, they hire the lobbyists, they effectively control Capitol Hill, and it's time to break the logjam. It shouldn't be that these people can run around and control our lives, can take our personal information, can rip off our most sensitive data and not have to pay us a dime for it. It is time to get them out of our lives in this way. It's time to give people control back. They need to own their own personal information. Americans ought to own their own personal data. These companies ought to have to pay for it.
I mean, the thing is, I would say that Americans, like many people around the world, believe perhaps fruitlessly and probably very innocently that they do own their data, that they think that these things are all pretty private. They think they put all their information there. They read these big disclaimers and they think it's all fine. But it's not. This is all being done surreptitiously, secretly, sneakily, isn't it?
Exactly right. And Americans should own their data. I mean, they have a right to expect that because, after all, it's their personal information, whether it's tax prep information. I mean, if somebody goes to H&R Block, let's say, and turns over some of their tax information to get help with their taxes, who would expect, based on that all of that sensitive information, your most personal, sensitive financial data, is being turned over to Facebook, is being turned over to Google? I mean, it really ought to be criminal. In fact, my state of Missouri just sued this company today, H&R Block. I'm glad that they did. I hope other states will follow suit. But Congress needs to act here to protect the personal information of Americans. We ought to own it. They ought to have to pay us for it. It's just that simple.
How protected are you? I mean, I know you're on Twitter because you tweeted just before you came on air tonight, I'm about to go on and talk to Piers Morgan. So I know you're on Twitter. Are you on other social media platforms? And given that you're an expert in this, how protected do you think you've been? And should you have done more?
Well, you know, in terms of protection on those platforms, I would say I'm probably as exposed as anybody else. Yeah, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And this is part of the reason I have been introducing these laws that you referenced, Pierce, to make sure that Americans can't be tracked without our consent, that our personal data can't be taken from us. And it's time for Congress to act. In my short time in the Senate, what I have seen is there's a lot of talk. There has been no action because these companies own Capitol Hill. Again, I say it's time to break the logjam, get these laws passed, and protect Americans' personal information.
Yeah, I mean, Big Brother isn't just watching us, it's stealing from us. Senator, thank you very much indeed for joining me.